Plastic Man No More, issue 3. Christopher Cantwell writing with Jacob. That's not right. That's not the artist done this, is it?
I can look for you.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is Jacob Edgar. I don't see why I got it wrong. Anyway, yeah. For some reason, I thought this was the last issue, and it clearly isn't. Yeah,
it is not. There's at least one more.
There's at least one more because it's not the end of the story, so that's fine. So, yeah, obviously we had the whole comedy of errors last issue with the Metal Men dying, and this issue there's a nice little payoff to it actually, where Plastic Man's trying to tell them, "Yeah, I got uranium back from the bad guy." But he just kind of mutters under his breath, but all the Metal Men were killed in the mission. And like Detective Chimp's like, what was that last part?
Yeah.
What was that?
You're trailing off there at the end.
Yeah. You killed off like the entire team that was sent in to help you? Okay, that's not a good result, but hey. So yeah, obviously we're barreling towards this plan to use uranium to blow up a nuclear bomb to hopefully fix what's wrong with Plastic Man, so that in effect that they can also fix it in his son if he ever has that same issue. So yeah, we get like his allies are getting a little conflicted. You know, obviously his old buddy's fine, but the doctor lady's having some struggles. Detective Chimp investigates like the crime scene of the Metal Men and tries to ascertain what happened there, and ultimately kind of confronts Plastic Man and the others towards the end of the issue about it, which leads to No Face, who, by the way, is working with Plastic Man now. Because Plastic Man tricks his son and says, "Hey, I need your help. It's not about like anything else. I actually want your help with a superhero thing. Let's go and take down a bad guy." But it's all a trap. He basically lures his son into a trap in this rundown like pier building where like his allies jump out and syringe him to like take him out and basically sort of subdue him. And he's pissed about it, but it's like, no, like we need to do this to save your life. We're going to do it. We're going to have this nuclear bomb go off. He argues against it. He fights against his dad. There's a great couple of pages where it's like a 16 panel grid where it's like Plastic Man's head, but then in the second page like some of them start to black out and it's only some of the panels, and it really gives you this sense of like just things closing in and it feeling really like an intense conversation. Really well done actually in the layouts there, but yeah, the big payoff to this issue, though, is that when Detective Chimp shows up and says, "Oh, that whatever happened to the Metal Men wasn't an accident. You did something. Like there's, all of the stuff that you said collapsed and led to their death was brand new. It wasn't worn down." And then all of a sudden, there's just fire, and then you realize that No Face, who's working with Plastic Man, the deal they have apparently is that Plastic Man will give his face to No Face, so that No Face has a face, which is kind of funny, I admit, once everything's all done. But he has killed Detective Chimp. Detective Chimp has been burned alive by No Face.
Well, no, wasn't he just burned alive? So earlier in the book, the doctor is like, well, yeah, we have to open up the windows when you're around because as your body is breaking down,
oh yeah,
you're emitting this gas that's toxic.
That makes the fire more intense, yeah. But he's still on fire.
I took that as he lit Plastic Man on fire, and it was the gases that killed Detective Chimp. He says, we ignited your outer dermal polymer layer. It increased the sublimation of the gases.
Oh, okay, sure.
That factor says, so you killed him, you poisoned him. So that's what I took it as.
Oh, okay, sure, but like I don't think that changes the fact that the fire still sets Detective Chimp on fire. Like, I don't think that changes that.
Well, yeah, no, but he could have survived that if it wasn't for the gas coming from Eel, which is why they set him on fire.
I mean, I guess, but he still it still shows you a close up of the flamethrower that No Face has got, and then the fire kind of comes from behind Plastic Man.
Yeah,
like. I still sort of took this as a very unhinged moment of like the villain just spraying fire at someone.
100% it's unhinged. I'm just saying that like Detective Chimp died because of the gases, right? It wasn't just the flamethrower. You know, he just didn't cook the chimp because he was going to talk. You know.
Well, was it not intentional? I thought it was intentional.
No. It was intentional, but that's what I'm saying is it's a poisoning versus a flamethrower death, right? So they're trying not to bring, you know, because if Detective Chimp ends up being found roasted to death, right, versus him just being poisoned, I'm sure that would lead trails back. But they, you know, Cantwell goes out of his way to bring up that, you know, that they poisoned Detective Chimp. It wasn't just a flamethrower. Because to me, I took that as more as Plastic Man was on fire and him flailing around. That's, you know, it could have gotten on to Detective Chimp, but what ultimately killed him was the gases, and that's why they set up the gases early on.
I'm not so sure it would the trace back to the culprit is any more difficult or not because it's a poison rather than being torched alive.
I don't know. That's how I took it, because they're trying not to be as sloppy, because that's how Detective Chimp found them, right? It was all of that. It was the, you know, nothing that Plastic Man had said was true, right? So, but yeah, it feels almost like a cover up kind of deal, and that's why again the poisoning versus the flamethrower. Because I was very confused at first until you get to that page where he's melting, you know, and they talk him through it, and it gets super sinister after that too, because it almost feels like he is past the point of no return now.
Yeah, he's completely breaking down here at this point in the book. But yeah, Chimp's dead though, so that's kind of your big shock thing for the issue.
Yep.
As the other characters get ready, and yeah, the issue basically just ends with them driving off in a truck to like their location, to their nuclear bomb site.
Yeah, to the boardwalk that's been, you know, abandoned. And I did like that. Plastic Man's like, yeah, I used to go there as a kid. It's run down. We're saving them the use of bulldozers. It's like, no, but you're still setting off a nuclear blast, you dummy. Like, that's not the same as bulldozers.
Yeah, oh, he does try and justify it by saying that they know it's evacuated, like, or not evacuated, but it's empty, right? It's derelict. No one's there, and no one has been for a long time. And in some ways, that he's kind of happy to see it be gone because it's just nothing but a horrible childhood like memory place for him. Yeah, it's a solid issue. I think out of the 3 issues, this is by far the one that's the least exciting. Just because it's mostly just getting the pieces in place. The most dramatic, interesting thing that happens probably isn't the Chimp death. It's interesting Chimp getting closer to the truth, but I would say the most dramatic thing that happens that's interesting is Plastic Man tricking his son and like sort of that sense of betrayal that comes with that. But for the most part, though, this didn't have all of the really good, like, sort of learning about what was happening to him in issue 1. It didn't have the great sort of heist with the Metal Men stuff from issue 2 that led in that sort of tragic ending. This felt definitely more like a setting up for the end of the story, but it wasn't as, like, inherently as interesting from, you know, cover to cover the way that the other issues had been.
Yeah, I know, but I do like the big blow up that Plastic Man has on the Justice League, where he's trying to tell them what had happened and they're talking over him. And he's like, you know what? I quit. I didn't even have a good parking space. You guys don't listen to me. You know, I'm over it. So I thought that was a pretty big, you know, piece of it as well. But yeah, just compared to the last 2, this one felt like you know, not at the same level.
Yeah, it's just sometimes you have to have the part of the story that sets the next bit up. And that's mostly what this was for me. It just didn't have quite the big heavy swings that the other 2, or the focus that the other 2 did. Which is not to say it didn't have good scenes or good moments that did ring true, because it absolutely did. Just not quite the same level as the other 2. So, are still exceptional though. Like I mentioned, that 16-panel grid that changes over the 2 pages, but even the page where right before the torching of Chimp, there's a page, just a black background where it's Chimp and Plastic Man looking at each other in profile, and it's like, you know, where the accusations kind of like coming out from Chimp, or even accusation, but just kind of like prodding as if he's like questioning the story, and then obviously it ends with disaster. But like just the intensity of that page and the harsh brim of light going against the edges of their face, and the serious looking Chimp's face. You can't really even see Plastic Man's face because of the goggles that he's always wearing, but just all of the art is really fantastic, and you know, even if it wasn't hitting the story highs that the last two issues were, the art was constantly feeling top tier. So added a lot to the atmosphere of everything.
Yeah, I agree.
So, all right, what are you giving Plastic Man No More, issue 3?
I'm gonna give this a 7.5.
Yeah, I'll just go with a straight 7 for this one, I think. Looking forward to the finale and seeing how it all wraps up. And the fact that Plastic Man's kind of responsible for Chimp's death feels like it should have consequences, so I'm not sure what that'll be now.
I agree. And also just ultimate dirtbag move what he did to his kid. You know, tricking him into thinking that he cared. And then he does care, right? But it's just the way in which he did it. You're just like, maybe there is no coming back for Plastic Man. Maybe it's just his punishment.
I mean, the kid even has a moment where he's kind of like enjoying it, and he almost has to fight like enjoying it too much, and then obviously his dad betrays him, and it's like, oh, okay, I can hate you again. It's fine.
Yeah.